Hey, welcome to the Board Game Batcave. This is the Batcave crew that's going to bring you Dice Masters this week, and we've certainly test played this one to the hilt. And so we're going to break it down for you in the four categories of components, theme, gameplay, and replayability. And this week, Gilmer gets us started out with components.
Components. I like any game where I can buy a booster pack for a game for 99 cents.
Yeah.
It is deceptively where you can really just think, oh, that's not even $1. It's 1 penny off from $1, but you could go in and buy all the boosters you want to and not feel so bad about it. And with a booster, you get 2 dice and 2 cards. There are not going to be any from the core set. And I like that because this game, the components, it's only dice and cards, but you're going to get a bunch of both of them. And the dice, really cool. They represent something about the character, you know, falcon maybe, wings or something like that. And I think the cards were really well done. The artwork from them is excellent. I haven't seen any artwork yet on a card that I thought was kind of cheesy or not done very well. For a game that's only got 2 components, they did it very well. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to go an 8 for components on this.
8. I mean, I can't argue with any of that except I started out thinking this was some great components because I love dice. Everybody loves dice, and they're well-made dice. And the artwork, they have decades of comic book art to pull from, or D&D art to pull from. It's 2 of my favorite themes. So they almost hit it out of the park until I got that cheesy little bag that comes with it. And that really, I know it shouldn't bother me. I can just throw it away and never look back, but it just, I don't know, it just bothers me that just don't put the bag in there. Just take it out.
Yeah.
So that got a ding from me on my components rating. And the second thing is that I don't like the fact, I would have more liked it, especially for the superhero versions, that if you would have made 146 cards or whatever of different superheroes or different villains rather than having 3 to 6 versions of one character that just does something slightly different each time. They could have taken a hint from the D&D version and made levels or, you know, experience levels or something so that you could power up your hero through the game rather than just selling the same card and dice again and again. And I understand that getting new dice, they did get away with selling me more dice and not making me feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But I just don't like I feel like I have 3 versions of Wolverine and 2 of them sit on my shelf and never do anything.
Well, I think that's all according to the gameplay. How you're going to build your army.
Right, but you're never going to bring out,
that.
You're not allowed to bring out, I don't think, 3 of the same card.
No, you can only pick one of the versions if there's multiple versions. But, I mean, you may go with a one-theme army and you'll play one of those particular characters. And with a different theme army, you may use a different alternate. I like the fact that they give you choices of particular cards, you know.
That wasn't such a bad thing, but it just, something if I would have done it, it would have changed it a little bit. So, overall, the components are good, really great. And they got a little bit of ding here and there for certain things, and so I'm going to bring it down. But still higher than that. I'm going to go to 8.5.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with you guys. I'm right in there pretty much with both of you on it. It's fun right from the get-go with your starter packs because you start out with a bunch of dice already, and then in no time at all with some booster packs you're going to have even more. So that they give you plenty of the components, that's for sure. The dice are pretty well made. I've had a couple here and there that maybe have a little imperfection on them or something like that, but it's, you know, no more than you might expect that's going to happen. But otherwise, I think they're well made. The symbols on there are easy to read, and they fit the characters pretty well.
Yeah.
The cards, again, if we're going into nitpicking, trying to find something wrong with it, a lot of times the cards in the booster packs are going to have a little crease on them or something like that. not anything that you probably couldn't fix.
I wouldn't call that a crease. It's got a warp to it. Nothing that's going to leave a permanent line on there.
Not really
if you can flatten them out, put them under a heavy book for a while, they'll flatten out. Because a crease, when I think of that, I think of a line. Even when it's flat,
that's true.
It's going to be a blemish.
But you know what?
A little bend or something to it. But.
It was been maybe 15 to 20 years since I've even played Magic, but I don't ever remember opening a package of Magic cards and finding one that had a bend in it.
No, because the packaging was different on those boosters. Those foil packs, they tend to be pretty flat, and I think why these get a bend on them is their booster packs. I mean, you've got a couple of dice in there too, and it's going to warp it a little bit from something irregular being in there. So, like I said, but they'll still flatten out. I don't think that's such a bad thing.
So just for those slight little issues there, I'm going to put it at an 8. Still a really high rating, but those are the only things that are kind of keeping it down. I like the artwork a lot also, so I think it's a good 8 on that.
All right, there you have it. Next category is theme.
Movies and TV shows are really going big with the superhero genre and stuff, and we've been seeing quite a few superhero games.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing because I like the theme of it, the genre and everything. I mean, this could have been a different theme, but going with the superheroes and their individual powers and stuff like that gives a lot of them their particular flavor, makes them stand out from one another. I dig the theme. And the D&D one is really cool also. I think theme-wise, I may like the superhero version better. But still, really cool. I'm going to go 8.5.
Okay.
Yep.
Of course, I said it's two of my favorite themes when I was talking about components, and it is superheroes. And the fact that they went out and purchased licenses for different things, DC and Marvel, so now you can have that ultimate battle for Avengers versus the Justice League or whomever. I really like that, and I appreciate the fact that they thought ahead on that.
Yeah.
And now I think they're coming out soon this year with Avengers Age of Ultron.
Be cool.
Which should be good, and you were speaking about the movies driving it, the popularity, and so they've got a big winner on their hands here. I actually, I'm not the pure strategist when it comes to building my team. I don't just try to find things, power, energy sources that work together and try to find the best one that can bring out this. I always think about who would play well with this person. Because I can't have Captain America fighting alongside Dr. Doom. It doesn't make sense. So
I do like how when you're commenting on min-maxers, as they would call it, you look at me whenever you're doing that.
That's because I'm drawn to that. You were thinking in my head. So, it was out of the park on this one. So I'm going to say theme is actually probably going to be my high score, and that's going to be a 9.
Cool.
Well, once again, I'm right in line with these guys on it. I like the theme a lot. We're about to talk about gameplay, so I'll leave some of these comments for gameplay. But they came up with a really good mechanic, a really good way to combine cards and dice. But then they put these themes on it, but it's flawless the way the themes fit to it. It doesn't feel like they just tried to force it in. They took some time, they thought about it. The cards match up with either the superhero or the villain or the fantasy character or whatever it might be. So I think they did a great job with it. I'm not a real superhero kind of, I'm not a real comic book guy necessarily, but I do really like the way they did it, and I think they did a great job. So I'm going to come in at another strong 8.5 for me.
But if they ever make a Dice Master hockey version, you would be all up in that.
That's right.
You would own every one of those cards.
You would probably buy them all. All right, so that leaves us with the third category, which is gameplay.
Gameplay is really cool in this. I mean, every card's got its individual powers and stuff. Some cards may have, sort of the same power, But like whenever I get Wolverine, I know his special power is going to be related to his character in the comics and in the game and everything. And whenever you're getting to make teams up of these different cards and stuff like that, and playing off one another, you know, where some abilities complement one another, some cards do, it is really, really well done and really cool to mix and match and see what works with what. Gameplay also, the dice system for this is pretty ingenious.
It
actually,
really is, yeah.
Where one of these NPC dice are going to fuel your energy cost and allow you to buy extra cards and stuff like that, all from a 6-sided dice, and then of course you get another die from your character or whatever when you purchase them. Really creative, really smart. I like that. Mm-hmm. You know, for a game that's only got 2 components, gameplay is, I think, pretty awesome for
Don't
this.
forget the bags.
Yes.
I'm going to go, gameplay on this is about a 9 for me.
Really?
Yep.
I wish I could break gameplay into 2 categories, like the coolness factor of how they've come up with the system, and then like the drawbacks of it.
Yeah.
The coolness is right. It's the way they've made the character's powers fit the character, and yet not be overpowered or underpowered is, I don't know how they do that, but
yeah.
It's that gets a real high rating from me. But then one of the complaints I have is that for people either starting out or younger players, the actual figuring out the system takes a while. It's not, I don't know, maybe it was just more I was younger and had a sponge for a mind when I learned Magic, but
There's a learning curve on
there
this
is
game.
definitely a learning curve on
Yeah.
the game, and I mean, I learned it maybe playing 1 or 2 games. I had it
Yeah.
pretty much down, but like, say, for instance, a younger player just getting into gaming who hasn't had a history of already this type of game
Yeah.
might suffer a little bit and have to take a little bit longer to play. So it's not right out of the box friendly towards certain crowds.
No, I would think you're going to shoot for a starting age of like teens in this. Probably it's not a young, even though it's comics, it's not a young kid's game. Sure. I think there's a lot of stuff in there to grasp. I think it'd be comparable to like a Magic kind of thing.
It says 14 and up, so
well, that's definitely right on the money, man.
I won't fault them for being that complicated, but
even adults though, you've got to, if you see it played 2 or 3 times, then you've generally got the gameplay down. But it is there's some learning to do in it.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of the action cards. I like the action cards being in the game, but I don't seem to ever want to use them.
Yeah.
I'm too busy. The games don't last long enough, it seems to me, to worry about the action cards as much as getting my heroes out. And maybe it's because I'm doing it wrong, but I don't know. I'll stop complaining about it. I'll talk about the good side, and the good side is that the gameplay makes you want to play again, and it's a lot of fun. And so I'm going to go with an 8 on gameplay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they did a great job with the gameplay on this. This is the kind of game, like Chris just said, for me, the mark of a good game is when you're done playing it, do you immediately want to play again? And that's how you feel with this one, because as you're playing it, whether you win or whether you lose, you're going to discover a part of a strategy that you want to try the next time around, or are you going to find out a card that you thought was going to really help you? Turns out it wasn't as helpful as you thought, so now you're going to retool. I find that I want to get back to it and try it again pretty quick, so I like that about it. As Gilmer down here has said several times, for just cards and dice, there's actually a lot to it. There's tons of strategy to keep up with, more than my feeble brain can usually remember in a turn. So, for what might seem like a simple thing, just a play area, some dice, and some cards, they pack plenty of it in there, and you get a lot of gameplay out of that. So once you figure it out, once you figure out the flow of the game, then it's all about trying to tweak your strategies, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to give this a 9 for gameplay. I think they did a great job.
That's pretty high. Okay, so replayability is our last category.
Replayability, I'm going to give it a 10. Very few games that I've played in my illustrious gaming history have I found the replayability to be as high as this is. The past few weeks, I've played it a lot. I've never had anybody say, hey, why don't you teach me how to play, or let's play a game of this, or whatever. I've never been like, I'm not in the mood to play it, or I've got to, whatever. I'm always looking forward to playing this game right now and everything, and that's kind of unusual for me. I've got a very addictive personality, and I'll latch on to stuff, but usually it's gone by now.
Yeah,
Yeah. So this game to have held my attention for this long, that's saying something.
Squirrel.
It is something that I see myself enjoying playing for quite a while longer too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go 10 on this.
You can't get better than that.
Nope.
While you were talking, I was trying to think of something to take away from that, or to give it less than a 10. And while it's not really a bad thing for some people, the addictive part of it, or the collectability part of it, or whatever, is the only thing I could see to take away from inhibiting my replayability of it. Because it burns bright in the beginning when you're like, oh, look at all the pretty cards and the dice, and then you start going, oh, I got another booster pack with another Professor X.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
A duplicate of my duplicate.
Yeah.
So you have this stack over here. When your stack over here of duplicates gets higher than your non-duplicates, that's when you start regretting everything and crying in the shower.
Yeah, but really, if you're talking about replayability, and a con of a game is that I want to buy too much of this game. I don't really, that is a pro and a con, but that's saying something where you're worried about investing too much in a game because you like playing it too much. So,
it's obviously replayable, extremely replayable, because they have different themes
genres,
pasted on the same cards, basically, so that you can collect this one, and then you can go to this one, and then this one, and make it even new each time.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously extremely replayable. And even amongst the same characters, like we were talking earlier about, like Wolverine, well, this time I'm going to play this version of Wolverine.
Yeah.
And so it makes the game all different.
What would happen if I take Superman out this time and play a version of Shazam or something,
Yep.
Fine-tuning, tweaking of your deck,
So while I'm going to do it unusual this time when I grade it, and so I'm going to start at 10, and I think I'm going to pull back just to a 9 on it. So 9's going to be my final score.
All right. Well, I gave gameplay a 9 on this, so I'm actually going to go up just a little tick for replayability and give it a 9.5. I can't quite go all the way to a 10. I'm not really sure why, but this is a lot of fun. This is a game that you want to play as soon as you finished. You're ready to reset your decks and go again. This is a good game. You can play pretty quick. Or you could have several folks over, play a little mini tournament, and knock that out pretty quick too. So, replayability is really high in this game. It's a good game system that you're not going to get tired of because there's enough variety in the cards, and then obviously you've got the luck of the rolling of the dice that's going to come into play. Regardless of how well your strategy has worked out to get the heroes you want fielded, now you got to roll the dice correctly to make that happen too. So. I think they did a great job. I look forward to playing this one each time, so I'm going to stick at 9.5.
Something he said reminded me of why I brought it down to a 9, and that was, yes, it's ultimately very replayable, but it's a 2-player game, and so if you have situations where, I can see where, if, like we do, we get together every week with lots of people, and so either we're going to have to figure a way to play more people for this game, our own house rules.
You can go 4 people. 2 or 4.
Oh, there's a 4-player.
Do a team kind of thing.
New team, or we're going to have to play something else, and so that kind of dinged it on the replayability. I wish they would. I don't know why. I'm sure there are reasons as far as unbalancing that you can't do more than 2, but I just wish it was a round table thing where you could play 8 on 8.
But, that could also be a benefit. A big group like we have on Guy Night once a week, sometimes you have a game that a certain number of people can play, and you've got a couple of stragglers. Mm-hmm. Well, a 2-player game that is this fun and replayable and everything is kind of a boon, and everything. And really, one thing I didn't talk about component-wise, everything that you need for 2 players fits in one of these boxes.
Right.
So for cons or anywhere, you could throw this in your little courier backpack or whatever, or you could take that thing anywhere, and if you're waiting and you've got 20 or 30 minutes, and you got a buddy with you could play this, and that is all the space it takes. So really cool.
I might add that my 3-year-old just likes the dice.
Yeah.
You
Build
can't beat,
stuff with the
you
dice,
can't beat
so.
a pile of dice, that's for sure.
I want to say we really scored. I don't think any of us scored any of the particular bits lower than an 8. So
Right,
we've
so
really
this
liked
is-
this game. We've scored this
It's-
really
yeah,
high.
it's obviously
Strong across the board. Yep.
I hate that I like a game that's so close to Magic. It just tears me up. But so that being said, if you have an addictive personality, run. Don't even start, because you will not stop. It's that.
Mike's got an addictive personality. It didn't hurt him. Of course, Mike is so addictive in his personality. I could say, "Hey, Mike, have you ever seen my sponge collection?" And then if one other person would be like, "All the cool kids at score and the sponges," Mike would have 300 sponges by next week.
But
probably.
yeah, that's true. That is true.
And he would sort them and
Yes, color
by
and size,
Yeah.
Sponge drawer. And
He would have,
everything.
he had to buy the plastic containers for each sponge too. But
Good.
I can't deny it.
Good game,
It's all
though.
true.
but that picking on him, it still works out for our benefit,
Yeah.
because we still get the benefit
Excellent.
from his collecting all this stuff. All right, so there you have it. Obviously, the Batcave really liked this game, and we're going to
Yep.
turn this off now so we can go play it.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.